Yair and Jeremy, where do you begin? I mean, where can you begin to heap on huge amounts of deserved praise to both guys? The pressure that both must have felt going into that contest, based on their history, based on the blow-up of the main event in Mexico, based on the aftermath, the face-to-face altercation in the hotel, the media, the build-up, the demanding of a fight, the demanding of an immediate rematch by both guys, the granting of said rematch by Dana White, the pressure they must have felt. You guys will hear that word a lot in all sport, particularly in this sport. Pressure. Oh, the pressure. The only thing that pressure does, pressure is a very real thing, but it only does one thing. Pressure does not make somebody wilt. It doesn't make somebody fold. It doesn't make somebody not go play the game. Anybody that uses that as an excuse just sucks at the game. I mean, that's just the reality. But it does have one physiological effect, which is pressure creates a stress, and stress will create a fatigue. When you are in a sport based on attrition, where conditioning is the single greatest weapon you can bring in, and you bring an element of pressure, which then creates a stress, which then physiologically creates fatigue, you got problems. You got big problems. But both of them felt it, so it's a bit of a wash. To then watch these guys go to war for 15 minutes, to watch Yair open the fight with a flying sidekick to the face of Jeremy, the balls that took to watch Jeremy take it like it never happened. Timeout. Let's just start with Yair. Okay, let's just get the praise out of the way. This guy's stand-up abilities are nothing short than of a video game. There is no way to train the things he's doing. He has literally seen them in his head. There is no coach. There is no technique. That's not even a move that's ever practiced. And when I say half of the moves that he did, if not closer to 70%, are not moves. They don't have names. There's something that he does. There's something he's out there doing. There's no way to prepare for that if you're Jeremy or if you're any other opponent. And when you talk about the greatest strikers in all of mixed martial arts, right? John Jones would come to mind. MVP would come to mind. I really think Jose Aldo would come to mind. Conor McGregor. I really think Yair Rodriguez has got to be brought up in that same vein. And I'm not sure he's at the bottom of the pack. He could be towards the middle to the top. I mean, this guy on his feet, largely because of his unpredictability, this guy's a handful. Now, let's go to Jeremy. I have always known how good Jeremy was. I have always been a fan. I've always known that's a rugged guy. I've always known that's a tough guy, a tough night out. To understand the grit and the determination that he showed, not only tonight, but over a chapter of his career, I just think it was really highlighted tonight, is something that would be hard to express in this video. This is one of the toughest competitors. This is one of the guys who wants it the most. And he showed that tonight. There was 5 spots of that fight he could have checked out honorably. There was 5 times in that fight he could have called it a night. Nobody would have questioned him. Nobody would have challenged. In fact, it would be the opposite. He'd get in the back, he'd have come in second, and people would have said, Jeremy, great job. Terrific fight. 5 different times he could have quit. He was not close to ever taking that opportunity. Now, the story of this fight isn't done, okay? This fight created more questions than it solved, and it created more problems than it solved. Don't forget, Jeremy won the last 60 seconds. It's about 68 seconds of the second round. He won all of the third round. Broad stroke, right? Point being, he's winning the later part of the fight. Oh, and by the way, the fight was supposed to be 5 rounds. Do you see where this starts to be a little bit more interesting and a little bit more compelling? Now we are left to imagine, guess, and argue how would have those other 2 rounds gone? The 2 rounds that were supposed to happen, those 2 rounds that were trained for, those 2 rounds that were contractually agreed to. When we're left to argue that, and given the evidence of minutes 9 through 15 for Jeremy, you see where that starts to be a real discussion. You also see where Yair was slippery as could be on the ground. You also see where Yair is throwing up submissions. You also have to take into account that 2 more times, without question, Yair gets to start the fight back on his feet. So it's not something where you could be a Jeremy fan and go, oh, Jeremy would have won that fight. No, it's not that easy at all. Far from it. But it creates a discussion. I'm not sure these boys have it solved. By the way, and this must be unnamed, but I watched the 3rd round of this fight with a licensed judge. I watched it on FaceTime with him. And the big question was, from me, is it possible that this last round is a 10-8 for Jeremy Stephens? Now, the judge said no. He said it was a dominant round. There's no way it was a 10-8 because he wasn't close to stopping it. He landed a lot of shots, but in fairness, Yair was blocking him. Okay, fine. But watching the fight and waiting for the decision, with the possibility that Jeremy could have had a 10-8 round, conceding that he lost the first 2. I mean, the whole thing, it was drama. This thing was drama from start to finish. That's my only point here. This was Yair Rodriguez showing some of the greatest, funnest, most fun stand-up in all of MMA. I would literally put him right against MVP. I'd put him right against McGregor in all of MMA versus the toughness of a true fighter in Jeremy Stephens.
He's been running these streets for years, and he's still here, and so is fear. Undisputed, never lost a round. Bodies hit the ground when the bad guy comes to town. American gangster, this man'll put a hurt on you. You'll be crying for your mama by the time he's through. You better believe that your life's in danger when you see the American gangster.